We're live.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, bright, beloved beings. I am so excited to join with you this morning. Happy spring. Happy spring. I have my phone in front of me and I'm looking for us live on Facebook. And that's where I get to connect with you and see your posts and comments. And I'm not sure where it is. Do you see it, TJ? Oh, there it is. Okay, yay. I always like to see it live. Then I know we're good to go. We're there. Good morning, Beverly. Good morning, everybody. I see you jumping on, but I don't actually see your name until you leave me a comment. So I love to see your little notes here in the morning on Sunday morning. Beverly says, I'm always so happy when I find you for an uplift to my week. Thank you for being here. We feel the same. Thank you for being here. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad that you're joining us. Yesterday was the day of perfect equilibrium, the same hours of night and day. I always like to feel into that on the spring equinox, like, perfect balance today. So happy spring. I think it was Tolstoy who said, spring is the time of plans and projects. And I agree. I love to plant lots of seeds of plans and of intention and meaning and focus, and just embrace that time of renewal and rebirth. Good morning. Good morning. Yay. Now I see everybody. Good morning, Paris. Good morning, Karen, Pat, Ron, Randy, Florence, Luwinda, Kathy. Yay. We're all here. I love this part where we're all joining together. Welcome back to our Sacred Sunday space. We love you. We love you. We're so glad you're here. Hi, Jan. Yeah, good morning. My name is Amy Van Ling, and I am joyfully the spiritual director here at Brentwood Inspired Living Center. And I am truly, truly grateful for our time together and that you are here. I welcome you. We welcome you. Brentwood Inspired Living Center is a safe space, a safe environment for all people to explore their spiritual path, to gain inspiration, insight, wisdom, and really to nourish and enhance your life. And then with all of that, we get to share all that goodness out into the world. And that's pretty fun, pretty good stuff. It's our purpose here to be a sacred space where we communicate on a heart level and elevate love. So thank you. Thank you for joining in with us on this mission. It's mission of love, I call it. Good morning, David. Good morning, Dawn. Fellow travelers. I always like that. We are fellow travelers. We're together. We're together on this journey. So thank you for letting me know that you're here. Jennifer says, happy spring equinox. Yes, yes. Remember to turn on notifications on our Facebook page, because when you have them turned on, you get a little ping when we go live, and you don't have to search for us or look on the page. You just click right in there, and it makes it really easy on Sunday mornings to find us. That's in your settings. And like our page, follow our page, all that good stuff, like the post. So TJ, Mirabai, Steve, Nancy, we all welcome you in this morning. We are here to share our hearts with you this fine, beautiful spring morning. Good morning, Ginny. Good morning, Jim and Siggy. Nice to see you. Well, what a week it's been for me. You notice that I'm in a different environment. If I didn't respond to your texts or emails this week, it's just been a little moving craze. And I thank you for your patience, and I will get back to all this week. I should have a little more ease going on. I'm settled here for the moment in San Diego in a hotel room. So for a couple of weeks, I'll be here. TJ is back with us, zooming back in from LA. I know this morning I asked him, are you back home? He's been all over the place, traveling, sharing his important message everywhere. And we are so grateful that you're here with us. TJ's message today is the art of acceptance. And TJ is a bright light to all. He's busy creating ripples in the world. And we're so grateful that you pour out to us.
Thank you, Amy. I'm always delighted to be here. Love you all.
We are grateful. Mirabai and Steve are the incredible duo called Heart Dream. And we are truly blessed by their soul nourishing music and beautiful spirits they share so graciously with us, and we are thankful, deeply grateful that you are here with us to share. Nancy Pimentel is with us to share our inspirational story and abundance blessing. Nancy is our amazing angel, and we appreciate you, Nancy. Thank you for joining this morning and always keeping me on my toes, letting me know if my mic's working or what. Very important stuff. I appreciate very much. Welcome, bright ones. I see you all logging in with us. Welcome in to a space where you are loved, seen, cared for. We appreciate you. Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Garrett. I'm so glad you're all here. Good morning, Nicole. Good morning, everybody. Love and appreciate you so much. We are meeting at 10 a.m. on Fridays for 10 minutes of holding space and energizing our personal and community expansion. So please join us. It's the link that we use every Sunday for our connection. It's on our homepage of our website, brentwoodilc.org. Just pop in there at 10 a.m. on Fridays, and we will be there and look forward to seeing you there. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Hannah. I'm so glad that everybody is popping in here this morning. Yay. So Jim is going to be offering a new small group about storytelling. It sounds absolutely amazing. And the first meeting will be held this Friday, the 26th at 1 p.m. For overview and questions. And so that link is on our website, brentwoodilc.org, on our small group discussion page. The link is there to get into that Zoom call. So I encourage everyone to check it out if you are available to do so. Sounds amazing. I'll also drop the Zoom link here this morning. That way we can have access to it right here. Dave is asking about the Faux stage background. Okay, so I took a sign from from our sanctuary, and it will as soon as I have a wall to hang it on, but right now it's in storage and I haven't been there yet to grab it. So today it's the hotel curtain behind me. It'll make me laugh. I love it. I love it. I invite you this morning in with us. We are grateful to be together. So we're going to go ahead and get started and feel into our mission statement. We are an open, heart-centered spiritual community, honoring the one presence within us. We welcome all to connect, grow, and expand in wisdom, compassion, and love. Thank you all for joining with us this morning. We appreciate you. I'm going to hand the screen over to Nancy now for our inspirational reading this morning. Thank you, Nancy.
Good morning. Acceptance is our theme for the month of March. Here is an excerpt from a blog entitled Acceptance, the First Law of Spirit by Judith Johnson. The first law of spirit, or stepping stone along our path to freedom, is acceptance. Real acceptance is not for wimps, nor is it for wishy-washy, passive way of making do with whatever is present. It is not a whatever attitude of resignation either. Acceptance is a conscious choice to drop all forms of resistance to whatever has come present in the moment and making the most of it. Acceptance isn't about liking or approving of something. It is about letting life flow and unfold without getting in the way. It's about being receptive rather than exerting resistance to what comes present. For many of us, our first impulse is to resist something that we do not like that comes our way. Acceptance requires overriding this impulse and choosing to breathe into and through the experience, trusting that it has value that is for us, not against us. The truth of the matter is that resistance prolongs the negative experience, and acceptance allows for the possibility of changing our experiences by changing our attitudes. Consider the bride who had her heart so set on having an outdoor wedding that she didn't make a solid plan B in case of inclement weather. As her wedding day arrived, the storm clouds were rolling in and the forecast was not promising. She was the one who would make the final judgment call about whether or not to move the ceremony indoors. She woke up worrying about the weather and was distracted by her concerns throughout the entire day leading up to her 6 p.m. ceremony. She missed out on all the valuable joy and excitement of spending her wedding day with her bridal party. She didn't realize that while the impending storm was out of her control, the internal weather in her heart and mind was entirely up to her. Instead of deciding to play it safe and give her team time to set up the ceremony indoors, she waited until the very last minute, Finally, I went to encourage her to move the ceremony indoors. She was sitting there sobbing in her wedding dress with makeup dripping down her stubborn face. Just then the sky blackened and there was a torrential downpour. All the chairs were soaked. The guests ran for cover in a panic, and the staff was out in the rain gathering the chairs, whisking them into the reception tent, toweling them dry while sliding over the wet and treacherous floor. Imagine how different this bride's day would have been if she had been able to accept that she had no control over the weather. Ultimately, acceptance is about trusting yourself to rise to the occasion, whatever occasion presents itself to you. It's about being open to all of life, knowing that all has value, whether you like it or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, for that great reminder. Sometimes things just show up, right? I'm going to hand the screen over to Mirabai and Steve of Heart Dream this morning for our first song. Thank you both.
Thank you. I'll say yes, Lord. I'll say yes to your will, Lord. I'll say yes where you lead me. I will go. I'll say yes, Lord. I'll say yes. I'll say yes, Lord. I'll say yes to your will, Lord. I'll say yes where you lead me. I will go. I'll say yes, Lord. I'll say yes. I'll say yes, Lord. I'll say yes to your will, Lord. I'll say yes where you lead me. I will go. I'll say yes, Lord. I'll say yes. I'll say yes, Lord. I'll say yes.
Beautiful and perfect for acceptance. I'll say yes. I just finished writing something I entitled Divine Assignments, and it was about this saying yes, even though when you're like, what is that? That's not what I planned or expected. But saying yes. Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful message. We appreciate you so much. I'm going to hand the screen back over to Nancy for our prosperity blessing this morning. Thank you, Nancy.
I invite you to join me now for our prosperity blessing. We come together today, opening our hearts and minds to the one spirit, the light, infinite mind, knowing that there is only one power and one life, and that is the life of spirit. We affirm that we are one with spirit, and there is no one, nothing that is separate from this oneness. We are one with that infinite mind that has created all that is. We know that the divine qualities of peace, of power, of plenty, of wisdom are already within each of us, and we embrace these qualities now. We go forth in the truth of who and what we are, saying yes to our prosperity, our harmony, our health, our order, and our love. We affirm that our beloved community's consciousness is expanding beyond our wildest dreams and imaginings. We are dynamically moving and changing with the confidence, unanimity, and joy. We step forward with love and anticipation, fully supporting our amazing expansion with our time, talents, and treasures. And with the greatest gratitude, we accept this transformation of consciousness for ourselves and our community. We know that it is done, and we give thanks. Now we release, we let go, and we let Spirit do its perfect work. We trust the universe to provide for us. It is done, and so it is. And as a reminder, let us continue to stay connected and keep our community alive and prosperous as we expand exponentially. Please join with our friends and our entire community on Sunday mornings on Facebook Live for our exceptional speakers and musicians coming from all over the world. Join us on Zoom after our service at 11:30 for a workshop or checking in with friends. Stay connected by visiting our website, our Facebook page, our Facebook connection, and read our weekly connection in your email on Wednesdays. Join with others in our weekly small groups for sharing and book discussions. And you can find these links on our website. Check out Jim's new group, Telling Our Story, this Friday, March 26th at 1 o'clock. Find out the details and decide on a meeting time convenient for all who want to participate. Our expansion project is on the move. Please join your community in offering a separate and expansive donation, one time or monthly, just for our expansion. Please use PayPal, Zelle, or check and indicate expansion in the notes. And finally, join us on our after service Zoom every Friday morning at 10 o'clock for our 10 minutes of silent connection as we affirm for our expansion project. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, so much for that blessing and those reminders of what an awesome community we have. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you so much. I'm going to hand the screen back over to Heart Dream for our second song this morning, I Am Spirit. Thank you both.
Love has shown the way. I am spirit. I am love. I am spirit. I am God's love. The path is clear. Love one another. Serve only God. Care for each other. I am spirit. I am love. I am spirit. I am God's love.
Thank you for that truth, for those reminders. I am spirit. I am God's love. I love that. Just repeating that is so powerful. Thank you both. Thank you, Heart Dream. If you want more from Heart Dream, you can find them at heartdream.com and you can get all the downloads. And I think you can even get CDs, right? Even if you got the old style CD player. I packed up a few of those this week. I actually packed them up. I thought, hey, you know what? I still have CDs. So thank you both. That was so beautiful for our souls. Thank you, Mirabai, Steve, and Nancy for activating this space here for us this morning with this vibration of love and joy and bringing your beauty to this morning and sharing your hearts with us. We are so appreciative and love you. Thank you for being here. I will look for you on this side of the portaling. I've come to affectionately call all that we're doing here with Zoom and Facebook Live our portaling. I don't really know how we get around here, but we do somehow. So yay. Well, good morning, everybody. We have TJ Woodward with us, and we love you so much, TJ, and we especially love you when you're with us.
Oh, thank
Because
you.
we get to have you. We get to enjoy you and bask in your consciousness and your heart and soul. And we appreciate that so much. So for those of you who don't know TJ, I'm going to read you a little bit about him. TJ Woodward is a revolutionary recovery specialist, best-selling author, inspirational speaker, and addiction treatment consultant who has helped countless people through his simple yet powerful teachings. He is the author of the books Conscious Being, Awakening to Your True Nature, and Conscious Recovery, A Fresh Perspective on Addiction. TJ is also the creator of the Conscious Recovery Method, which is a groundbreaking and effective approach to viewing and treating addiction. He was given the honor of being ordained as an Agape minister by Dr. Michael Beckwith and is also the founding minister of Agape Bay Area in Oakland, which was the first satellite community of the Agape International Spiritual Center in LA. And I will add, because TJ is always, as I said, busy creating wonderful ripples in the world, he has now founded Unharmable, and that is amazing. And I feel like there's something else that I might be leaving out, but there's so much that this incredible being of love does in the world. And we are so grateful that you are here to share with us this morning.
Thank you.
I'm going to invite everyone into a moment of prayer to activate and ignite in us open hearts, clear minds, calm nervous systems, so that we are prepared to receive the divine message for us today. So if you're comfortable closing your outer eyes and taking a deep inhale, we take this breath of gratitude and love and breathe in renewal during this springtime. And we now open our hearts to elevate love, to be love. We enter into this moment, this time, this perfect space with presence, with intention, with focus, knowing that we are one with God, immersed in this presence of love, this divine intelligence. We claim this sacred moment. We invoke the Great Spirit. We seek first the kingdom, which is right here within our hearts. We are here claiming higher vibration. We are the light of the world. I ask for divine activation this morning, knowing that TJ is an instrument of God. And we bless TJ this morning. And I speak this word that we are holy, whole, complete, loved. And I broadcast this message into the infinite field. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. Namaste, beautiful ones. I'm handing the screen over to TJ Woodward this morning. We appreciate you, TJ.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you, everyone. I was reflecting before we actually went on the air on Facebook Live of how much I love this community that is now Brentwood Inspired Living Center. I think I got that right in the right order, but it doesn't really matter what the order is, because it's inspiring and it helps me live a life more on purpose. when I have walked into the energy field of the community, which, by the way, is not at all a space in physical reality, it is a place in consciousness. So regardless of whether or not we've had to like pivot this year and connect on Zoom in a new way, or whether or not we're moving into a new location, the truth is that consciousness is the deepest truth of who and what we are. And that when we build a community based on that, it's something that is a felt sense. And when I walked into what was then Unity Brentwood, that I felt something so powerful, and it was like coming home. And what I mean by that, it was like coming home to myself in a beautiful way. So the greatest work we can do on planet Earth is to do our own work in consciousness, and then co-create a world that is moving beyond the illusion and piercing the veil of what we once called reality. So I simply wanted to start with that gratitude for this incredible community. Thank you for that. My topic today is the art of acceptance, and I wanted to share why I chose the word art. I was reflecting during that meditation about the art that stirs our soul and moves us emotionally, and I was really sitting with the amazing art that has been a part of planet Earth for thousands of years, that have been created from a very deep place of emotion and intuition. Right. And so what I really want to talk about today as we explore the topic of acceptance is the levels of acceptance and the art of moving into that deep place of emotion and intuition, as we then look at how we can accept in a really profoundly different way. And so I loved the reading. I want to thank Nancy for that incredible reading. And there was so much richness. And I love that Amy said, thank you for the reminder, because that's really what we're all doing here. Any words that I say, the music that we hear, the presence that we experience really isn't a teaching as much as it is a reminder that our soul knows that it knows that it knows. And when we hear or we listen to that truth, whether it's words or notes or beautiful artwork, it reminds us of our true nature. So I wanted to start with looking at kind of the top layer of acceptance. And if you are anything like me, you might have been someone that has been labeled a control freak, or someone that has tried to control the world. I'm just going to say, for me, I have definitely worn that label before. And I'm going to explain why I'm starting with that. And it's very, very simple, because the first level or level of awareness as it relates to acceptance for me in my journey was an acceptance of the world as it is, rather than I thought it should be. And I love the story that was told about the bride and the rain in the reading, because I remember at one point listening. I lived in San Francisco for 29 years, and listening to conversations about people who were complaining about the fog. And I was thinking, what could be more futile than living in San Francisco and complaining about the fog? It reminds me of Byron Katie when she wrote her book, Loving What Is. She had a very similar experience living in Barstow, which apparently is one of the windiest places on earth, right? And she would hear people talking about how much they hated the wind. And it occurred to her that nothing could be more insane than wanting the wind to not be windy or the fog to not be foggy. I've moved to LA now, and if I were to move to LA and start complaining about the traffic, what would that create, right? There's a light and a shadow to every single situation. And I think the top layer of acceptance is recognizing that the world is as it is. And my trying to change or manipulate the world has caused frustration and separation, but only 100% of the time. Now, I would imagine, if you're listening to that, maybe you've had that experience, and understanding that sounds profoundly simple, doesn't it? Like, oh, I can't change the world. Well, we're going to come back to that. On this level of awareness, we're going to say we can't change the world. The world is what it is, and I can be in acceptance of that. Now, that's pretty simple, right? So I could ask myself, then why did it take me about 40 years to figure that one out? Well, it took me 40 years to get that, because it took me 40 years to understand that, right? Wanting my mom to be different, wanting my school to be different, wanting my job to be different, wanting my boss to be more understanding, wanting to find the perfect partner. You see, that first layer or that first level of acceptance for me is really in outer reality, right? And it's looking at in new thought what we call relative reality. And that's what we see, what we taste. It's what we use the five senses to experience. And in that reality, everything is always changing, right? Everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Everything is dynamic and constantly moving and shifting. And so when I'm living in that reality and that reality only, in other words, when I believe that relative reality is ultimate reality or the truth, that's when I suffer. Because then I start saying, why is this happening to me? Why does she keep acting that way? Or why do I keep repeating the same pattern over and over again? And why can't I break it? Do you hear the word why a lot? It has been said that why is not a spiritual question. And when I first heard that, I was like, well, why not? Or why is that true? And then I started exploring that, because what I have learned to do is when I hear a concept, rather than immediately rejecting it, I want to be curious about it. So I'm curious why someone would say why is not a spiritual question. And through the course of my early development, my early spiritual development, I came to understand that I was asking why because I wanted to get to the root of it so that I could fix it. Because you see, I was still living at a level of consciousness that believed there was something fundamentally wrong with certain situations, and I needed to change them in order to be happy. We're going to explore, though, a new layer of acceptance. And that layer is actually accepting that the world is perfect as it is. Now, that's a big stretch for a lot of us because we see all these things that we want to change. So let me explain what I mean by perfect. Because we've been programmed, I've been programmed, most of us have been programmed to look at the world through good and bad and right and wrong. So if I say the world is perfect as it is, there might be a reactive impulse within you that would say, well, how can that be true? There's all these things that are happening that are horrible, or these things that are happening that just can't be viewed as okay or perfect. So let me take a little deeper dive. Life will give you whatever experience is needed for the evolution of your consciousness. When I understood that at a very deep level, I was able to see the perfection in the world. Because if something's getting activated or touched within me, in other words, if I notice a reactive impulse, I notice a place where I have an opportunity for a deeper level of awareness or spiritual growth. So another way to say it is, Dr. Gabor Mate says, unresolved trauma is not a memory, it's a reaction. And the reason that I want to say that right now and why I'm talking about trauma is, as many of you know, the fundamental knowing that is true for me in my world and in my spiritual teachings and in my spiritual practice is, as Amy said, that there's a place within us that is unharmed and unharmable. And that we did come into this world as that, and then we got programmed to believe all sorts of lies about who and what we are through what we could call a traumatic experience. And these wounds then are trapped somewhere in the unconscious or the subconscious, and someone says or does something that activates that wound. And early in our development, we say how horrible that person is that they just said that. This is horrible. And if I could just remove toxic relationships from my life, I could be okay. Or if I could just get that person out of the political office, I would be okay. And we're looking at a different way of being, and that is simply this. Not if I notice a wound gets touched, but when I notice a wound gets touched. It's how I relate to that that creates what I call reality. In other words, what if the world was actually profoundly neutral? But because I have a particular point of view about the world, that is what I experience. So the deeper or the deepest level of awareness around the topic of acceptance for me is an acceptance that I am whole and perfect, an acceptance that spiritually there is nothing or no one that can ever do or say anything that can harm my essential true nature. And when I understand that that's the only true acceptance, accepting my own wholeness and perfection, spiritually speaking, and also accepting because of that, that as I tap into that, I become a being with infinite potentiality rather than limitation. Because you see, the only past that really exists is the past that lives within our mind. And when I say that, some people say, oh, are you trying to minimize what happened in the past? Actually, not at all. What we're doing is we're playing with this idea that in relative reality, and that includes the past, that it really is a point of view, it's not reality. And that is a point of absolute power, because as I understand that I am the projector and that the world is the screen that I'm projecting onto, it is a complete shift in our awareness. And as we raise our awareness to understand that I have stories about the past, but I am not the stories of my past. And an interesting side note is we often hear people say, well, I can't change the past. And that is true on one level of reality. But what I've come to understand is it's not what happened, it's my point of view about what happened that creates what I call reality. So, in that way, as I grow and evolve, I can look at a situation from my past and I can begin to shift my point of view about it. And I'm not talking about just my thoughts. We're talking about really understanding at a very deep level that the core ideas, the core false beliefs that we've created about ourselves and the world are what we project onto the world. In other words, 10 people can have the exact same experience and have 10 different results from that experience because of the way they perceive the experience. And if I move out of good, bad, right, wrong, and start to become curious, I can then move into the point of power, which is what gets created when I believe that story. And what I want to do is take it a little further, because it's easy for the mind to want to go into the debate of it. But it did happen. It is true. That's what happened. Are you trying to say that what happened in my past didn't happen? Not at all. What I'm saying is that it's my point of view about what happened that creates the projector. And so it's wonderful to know, and sometimes painful to understand, that I'm projecting onto a blank canvas, but only 100% of the time. So we can use the art metaphor again. What would happen if I were to really understand that life can be a blank canvas and I can then paint whatever portrait or landscape I want to paint? The issue for most of us, and certainly true for me for many, many years, is I had the old painting that I was bringing into current experience, and I was trying to paint on top of it, paint a new narrative, create a new story. But I just kept noticing that paint kept seeping through. How come I keep experiencing the same thing over and over and over again? I've been reflecting the last 24 hours on a divine truth that Pema Chodron brought us, and that is life will continue to present a situation until it has taught us what we need to learn. And I had an opportunity in the last 24 hours for a person to bring up something from the past, and I noticed that I had a slight reactive impulse. Now, I could have gone into judgment of the reactive impulse, but what I've come to understand is having a new relationship with ego is a very, very different framework than trying to be rid of ego. Having a different relationship with ego is like, oh, look at that. That just got touched. And I had a bit of a reactive impulse. I have compassion, I have understanding, and I have openness and love for that part of me that still had that wound. And then I thought of Pema saying, it will continue to present itself until it teaches me what I need to learn. So what is it for me in the last 24 hours that I've had the opportunity to learn? I've had the opportunity to learn that I always have a choice. And I have a choice regarding where I put my attention. We spend so much time trying to change the world or trying to change the circumstances of our life that we miss a fundamental and powerful yet really simple truth. And that is, I can choose to put my awareness somewhere else. In other words, as it was beautifully sung, I am spirit. I have an ego, but I'm not an ego. And that reminded me of a reading from Eckhart Tolle that I want to read at this moment. Because it just speaks to this new awareness of how we can move into the ultimate acceptance, and the ultimate surrender is to know that I am source energy. That's the ultimate surrender. So this is what Eckhart Tolle has to say about it. One day, I will be free of the ego. I will awaken. Who is talking? The ego. To become free of the ego is not really a big job, but a very small one. All you need to do is be aware of your thoughts and emotions as they happen. This is not really a doing, but an alert seeing. In that sense, it is true that there is nothing you can do to become free of the ego. When that shift happens, which is the shift from thinking to awareness and intelligence far greater than the ego's cleverness, begins to operate in your life. So when I read that today, I realized that that is the experience that I've been having over the last 24 hours. And to even pull back a little further, that's the experience that I've been having in this incarnation on planet Earth. You know, we often hear we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And I love the way our friend Michael Beckwith speaks about it. He says we are spiritual beings having a human incarnation. We are incarnated here as spirit. And for whatever reason, we come into this world that has the sense of, or the appearance of, division, of good and bad and right and wrong, of us and them, of our tribe, of our people, of you're wrong and I'm right. We're swimming in that. But when I understand very deeply that all of that is not who and what I am, it's not who and what we are. Who and what we are divine beings that have come to planet Earth to share that, to shine that light, to be that love frequency in the midst of absolutely anything happening. And when I understand that I have an ego, but I'm not an ego, I have a past, but I'm not my past, I have a thought, but I'm not my thought, I have an opinion, but I'm not my opinion. When I understand that for me, I can have compassion in that for you. And what then changes is everything. Because I can move into the ultimate acceptance, and that is an acceptance filled with love and compassion for all the people in my life that might have not yet understood that they're not their thoughts, that they're not their past. So it took me some time to come to that understanding. And as Eckhart Tolle said, this is not about a thought, it's about an awareness. So let's talk for a moment about the difference between thought and awareness. We in New Thought have been focusing on thought. It's right there in the title. I have a new thought, and new thoughts are really incredibly important. We do change the narrative. We do work on the story. We do notice our thoughts and change our thoughts. We do spend time playing with the idea that if we change our thinking, we can change our life. And then there's this moment that can happen for us where we can recognize that there's a greater reality. And that reality is pure awareness. And I can begin to shift my focus from my point of view to my state of being, from the programs of my life to ultimate reality, to an understanding that regardless of what's happening in the outer world, it can be an opportunity for growth and awakening. And for me, and this is for me, when the ego, my ego, gets touched and I notice the reactive impulse, because that's what the ego does. It protects, it defends, it looks at the otherness, it looks at the right or wrong. It's not bad. It's not something that we need to push away or diminish. It's something that we can embrace as a part of us, but not who and what we are. And when I really know that I know that I know that spiritual essence is who I am, I can bring in the shadow, the stories, the perspectives, my past traumas, all the issues that I've had in my life with this place of understanding and compassion. So in closing, and I know it's not really closing because we love to do Q&A, and I hope we have time for that today. And it's not really questions and answers because we don't have the answers. We just have more questions, but we play in the field of infinite possibilities together because we really are one mind, one heart, one beingness. So in closing, what I want to invite is a very simple question. Where is your focus today? Where are you coming from today? Who are you being today? Are you in a belief that you are your past, you are your stories, you are your opinions? Or can you tap into a greater level of awareness, the art of acceptance, accepting this greater reality, accepting that life is a hologram and I'm projecting onto this incredible canvas and I can paint whatever life I want on that canvas. The only thing that needs to happen in order for us to do that is to unpaint everything that's ever been painted from the time we were born until this moment. So if I want to experience reality, if I want to know the truth, I begin by examining what is untrue. And what is untrue is that you are limited, you are broken, there's something wrong with you. You've had this difficult life. That is the untruth. And the truth is you are an infinite, powerful being. And in this moment, you do have the ability to tap into this greater reality, to recognize that you are literally source energy, and source energy has no judgment. There is no judgment in energy. Energy is. So if I am source energy and you are source energy, imagine what the infinite possibilities of what we can co-create together. We can unplug from the earth drama and plug into something so much more powerful, and then watch the world change as if something in the world changed. What really happened is, oh my gosh, I am not that anymore. I am that I am. Peace and blessings. I love you all, and I look forward to our conversation. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, TJ. So much good stuff there. I know everybody feels the same. What did you, I'm always taking notes here. You said your point of view is not your reality. And what that made me think of is growing up in school and hearing different stories of history, right? And then I remember picking up the book, People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn in, I think, my freshman year in college. And I was like, this has a completely different point of view from some of the things that I was taught. And it was one of my first real big awareness moments of like, wow, there's different points of view, and that doesn't mean reality. So thank you for saying that and bringing that up. I think that's an important piece, and well, so much that you said is so important. I love what you just said. Unplug from the earth drama. I love that.
Yeah, there's plenty of it we can plug into, right?
There's plenty of it. Oh my gosh. So much drama. I love the reminder that we will continue to get presented with situations, until it teaches us what we need to know. And I really appreciate the way you spoke about having a new relationship with ego is different than trying to get rid of the ego. And I think that was a real big turning piece for me in my life anyway, was really realizing we're not trying to get rid of ego and looking at ego as like the bad enemy or something. This is just part of our human system, and to really create this new relationship, like you said, with it. So everybody, I know you have questions, comments, drop them in here into the feed, and we will get to them and have a conversation here.
Yeah, I'm reminded as you were saying that, Amy, I was loosely part of a spiritual community in the early 90s that was really big on on language and that our language creates reality, and absolutely true. And they took it to this place of if they had anything that they ever said that was perceived to be negative, someone else in the community would say, "Oh, cancel, cancel." And then the person would say, "Cancel, cancel. That's not true." Right. And so it was sort of this like thing where it was, well, I mean, it really wasn't that subtle, but it was really like, oh, I shouldn't have that thought. That thought is bad. Right. And so I think we were just redressing an old paradigm of like, there's something wrong with me. Right. There's something,
Right.
I shouldn't be doing that. And then
Right.
now it's like, oh, isn't it interesting that I said that? Wow. Where
Yeah.
did that point of view get created? And then I can look at that and then say, oh, wow, this knowing, this language, this energy field is going to create more of what I truly desire. And then it becomes really simple and fun.
Right. Yeah. And I love the word that that you use often, and I do as well, is staying curious. Really, just shifting to curiosity is like the magic tool.
That's right.
So okay, let's check in here, everybody. Hello, hello. Let me scroll back so I don't miss anything. John says, nothing needs to be fixed. Everything is unfolding perfectly. So when you stand in your now, accepting that all is well, then from that vibration, you become surrounded by more and more evidence that all is well.
That's right. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can actually, and what I love about that is then we can make an impact on the planet, right? We can be a profound change agent on the planet. And it seems paradoxical, right? Because when I unplug from needing to change the world and plug in, as he said so beautifully, plug into my essential beingness and then start to radiate that, that actually has a ripple effect or an instant shifting effect on planet. It's like, oh, isn't that interesting? When I surrendered my old way of being against and started tapping into my true nature, then it's like, oh my gosh, look at all these profound, because I think that's how change has really happened on the planet. The true change.
Yeah. I love that. That's beautiful. What you said in your talk is, what if the world is profoundly neutral? And
Yes.
life is a blank canvas. And I really love that reminder, because I started to do that with situations like, would someone else react this, would someone else have this response? If the answer is no, it's like, this is my perception, this is my experience. So now let's look at it, see what's going on, right? Because it really is neutral until we create something out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think about different cultures, and something that we call horrific, another culture doesn't call horrific, but they call plenty of what we do. And when I say we, I'm thinking of the United States. Like what we do is horrific, right? So what's the reality here? Well, it's all about the perspective.
Exactly. Isn't that true? I watched a show one time with my children about different foods, people eating different, and the response to, I think something we were eating, I can't remember, maybe bananas in cereal or something different to another culture. It's like, that sounds gross, something that we think is good. Yeah, it's good to keep that perspective, just to keep our minds awake. Pat says, yes, ego is needed. It's our personality and what we use to interact in the world. It is our gift we are to give to the world, in the world, but not of it. Thank you.
Yes, and that's thank you, Pat, for bringing that in, because for me that's the fundament. That's really important, because if I didn't have an ego, we would be pure essence, which may be true that that's what we move to next. I don't know. We can actually be that pure essence in the world, but our ego is a delivery system of that spirit, right? And I talk about this a lot, right? We all have our own unique gifts and talents that come from ego. When ego is delivering spirit, when we're using that in a way to be a servant instead of a master, I'm sorry to use those terms. I know but if I think about it as the ego's in charge, and then spirit is not in charge, look what gets created. When I shift that, and again, I don't like that language I used. God, that's an old program. It's so
No,
interesting.
that's okay. It's like a hierarchy is what.
Yeah. So it's like having that then become something that's useful for our spiritual. It's a spiritual delivery system. Let's put it that way.
I like that. Thank you. Let me scroll. Mirabai says, yes, awareness. That is the first step of remembering who and what we really are. Thank you, TJ.
Yes.
Beautiful. And you had some beautiful reminders for us today, Mirabai and Steve. Thank you. Beautiful music and songs. David Miller says, accept this moment fully.
Yes.
Yay. Beverly says, thank you, TJ, for the reminder that our life is a blank canvas, also about our past and memories.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Beverly. Randy says, life is a blank screen informed by a profound, unfathomable love. I am a divine blank screen. I am no thing. I am love.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say Randy? That was Ron.
Thank you, Ron.
Sorry. Hi, Asha. I see Asha was here, and Christy. Don says, life is made great for me by being willing to be dazzled, and I am daily.
Yes, I love that. Yes.
Jason.
You know, it's interesting when I train counselors and clinicians, sometimes a therapist or a counselor or a clinician will say, well, I don't think our clients are ready for that yet. And I'll say, my mantra when I'm going to work with clients or facilitating a group is, I am prepared to be infinitely surprised by the ability of the people in the room. Right. And that's something that I tap into because, you know, what I really understand is I'm projecting onto them. Right. Oh, they're not ready for that. Well, might that be true that maybe it's I'm not ready for that, but I don't use that in the room when I'm training a clinician or a counselor. I say, what would it be like to be surprised by your client's abilities today? And I have them reach out to me and say, oh my gosh, like I remember just tears coming down my face because someone said, oh my gosh, after our training yesterday, I went and facilitated a group. Our clients are so much smarter than I ever realized. Right. And so there was a point of view about clients that was getting created when there were really infinite possibilities in the room. And we can become curious, as Amy and I love to say, rather than deciding what they are and are not capable of.
Right. That's right. What's the saying? I might mess it up, but it's about, speak to, children the way, that you want them to perceive themselves because they believe you, they take on the words, that you tell them, what they're capable of. And, it's true. I remember math was never my favorite subject, but I remember hearing at some point, like, oh, well, you're just not really good at math or strong with math, and so I really took that on and embodied that and, went to college for English, but in that process, even in college, I had to take math and I realized, you know what, I'm not so bad at math after all, but there was something that had been imprinted and we're just taking the moment sometimes to check in with what is that story, what is that belief I'm holding on to, what is that program that doesn't create the neutrality, the neutral space. Okay, let's check back in. I know everybody always has a lot to say when TJ shares with us. Hi everybody, I see you here. Christy says, so wonderful listening, accepting all your beautiful gifts. Yes. Paris says, I really love what was just said about our personality being the expression of the divine. Yes. That's so true. We really are special and to be accepted and celebrated. We spend so much time contending with ourself and living in a narrative that there is something wrong or broken that needs to be fixed. Right. We are exactly where we are supposed to be right now, as is, and it's all perfect.
Yeah, and I love that you're saying that. And I was reflecting as I'm hearing you read that, Amy, that some of the greatest gifts for me have been the most painful experiences because I got to see that I'm not that, right? I'm not that story. I'm not that belief. I'm not that experience. But there was something about having that, what we could at one point of conscious awareness could call a negative experience. I don't believe that there's any such thing as that. Now, there are some that are not very pleasant. Let me be clear, because we're not doing a bypass. Like, oh, that was really fun when someone I really love died. We're not saying that, but there's an opportunity here. Like, let me be really present. And that's what Eckhart Tolle said in the reading. Let me be really present with my thoughts and emotions and then become curious about them. And then, what Paris, I think, is really saying here is like, yeah, we all have our unique gifts and our way to bring it. It's an expression of spirit. it's, for some it's song, for some it's speaking, for some it's writing. We all have our gifts, and they're all equally valuable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and they can have could have taken on labels about those gifts over time. And I've shared this story before about when I was a little girl, that I was called bossy a few times, and would want to control the games and how everything was done, and taking that into a different energy really became a gift of mine, for leadership and just the way I operate. Out of control could be a little crazy, but yeah. So thank you, Paris. That's really, really important for us to embrace. There was something else that I wrote down that you said that was so beautiful. Oh, life will give you whatever you need for the evolution of your consciousness.
Yeah.
And yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because even saying it will give you, when we talk about manifesting, I think at one level of awareness, we think we've created something. But what we've really done is cultivated an awareness of something which already existed, right? So when I say life will give you whatever experience, I don't really think that it's giving it to me, but because something pushed up against a program or a place of tightness or a place of opinionating, then I have the opportunity to grow my consciousness because, oh, there's something dense right there, right? Not in a place of right or wrong, but, oh, look, there's that little impulse right there. Oh, I love that part of me, right? I remember when a certain political figure was running for office, my friend would say, I love my inner, and then name the person, right? Because she was acknowledging that I'm not going to project onto this person, right? I'm going to recognize that that's a part of me as well. And if I have compassion for that, there's a possibility for an evolution in consciousness. And I'm not going to go further with that. We could do a whole hour on that.
We could, and it's beautiful. And thank you for that reminder, because I think it's important to say, because sometimes people will make that statement. What is it like? I don't know, like the universe is doing this. What is it like?
Conspiring. The
Like
universe is conspiring.
me, or what was it?
Conspiring. The universe is conspiring.
Yeah, conspiring. Exactly. Right. Yeah. So I think it's important to make that clarifying statement, because
I was in a workshop with back when I was in Unity, Reverend Sonia Milton, and we did an entire 90 minutes, and all she did is write the question on the whiteboard: is the universe conspiring? Okay, let's go 90 minutes on that. We were in small groups. It was amazing, right? Like, and watching myself and other people pushing up against their belief system, right? Yes, of course it's conspiring, because I used to think it was against me, right? And that's what I noticed is for me and my evolution, it was an important shift from the world is against me to the world is for me. That was an important part of my evolution. And then I moved into like, oh, what if it's more neutral than I ever imagined? And everything is possible here, but my consciousness only allows me to see what I can see. So it's not about the universe conspiring. It's about me expanding my awareness and looking at all the infinite possibilities. And then I get to choose. And then it's like, oh, wow, everything just changed.
Yeah, and beautiful. And what freedom in that too. I noticed that a lot of times that comes from a program, maybe of a kind of a religious idea of something watching you, or you're getting condemned for this or that. And so it's just about stepping into that awareness and realizing what is playing, and freeing. It's so freeing to come into that space. Okay, let me check back here. Christy, when you figured out that you made a wrong choice or not the best choice, do you think the universe will provide more opportunities?
So one of my teachers early on said, it's popular to say, I don't have any regrets. And she said, if I meet a person who doesn't have regrets, I'm really concerned. Right. And now let me be clear. I understand what people are saying, right? I don't want to stay in the energy of I did something wrong, because I can get stuck in that. But if I say everything I ever did was perfectly in alignment, that's not true for me. Because what happened for me is I forgot who and what I was, and I started to harm myself and others. And it was that simple, right? I didn't remember my true nature. I believed that I was broken or damaged, and I acted broken and damaged in the world, right? So if I, through conscious evolution, I can move into a space of where I'm, even saying non-judgment is a judgment, but moving into a space of open curiosity, I can say, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that again, right? I don't want to be part of harming other people based on a belief that I'm broken and me projecting it outward and all those things. So I think what was the last line of the question, Amy? Because now I don't remember.
Yeah. Do you think the universe will provide more opportunities?
It's always, if it's true that it's neutral, then it's always an opportunity, right? So if I'm in alignment, if I'm vibrating from the frequency of the truth of who I am, an infinite being, and I'm experiencing that in the world, then the universe looks like it's conspiring, because we do seem to attract the frequency that we're holding. I think we're really open to it more. So if I have a place where like a button gets pushed, an old wound gets touched, and I notice the reactive impulse, I could say, look, the universe just gave me another opportunity for my healing, which is true. And the deeper reality is I only had the experience because of the unhealed wound, right? So, someone can say or do something and I can have nothing on it, right? And it could be perceived as something negative, but if it doesn't touch a button, I'm like, oh, interesting point of view. But if they say something that touches an unhealed wound, then I'm like, oh, and then I notice, then I have to go through the whole experience of having compassion for the part that seems wounded and move into spirit and move into acceptance. But I think what a lot of us, what I have done and where I hear a lot of us getting stuck is we're focusing on the deliverer instead of what's really happening, right? And if you know the book, The Presence Process, or if you want a mind-blowing book, Busting Loose from the Money Game, it's not at all what it sounds like, but it can be what it sounds like. But it's really about, there's a process in it where you thank the sender, right? So if someone says something and it touched a wound, it starts by letting me really feel it rather than reacting. Let me really feel it. Let me be curious about it. I have a friend who says, when someone comes to me with a judgment, I pause and I start with, I wonder in what ways this is true, right? Instead of defending, and then feel it, and then tap into our true nature, and then thank the sender, because the sender just allowed us to grow, right? So if someone has a judgment of me and something gets touched, which is what happened in the last 24 hours, I got to see, oh, there's that place that still gets hooked. And then I say, oh gosh, thank you. I don't even know who the person is, by the way. Thank you, whoever you are, because you helped touch this wound and it really allowed me to heal.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's so interesting. I had something interesting like that in the last 48 hours.
Oh, we'll talk offline.
Yeah. But so powerful to be in that space where we can thank the sender.
Yeah.
And that really, when I'm thinking about provide opportunities, what I begin to think about is our frequency and our vibration, right? And so then we're attracting. And I was having a conversation with somebody recently about experiencing letting go of like a home. So if in this moment of saying goodbye and releasing, you can't be like excited, but we can go into gratitude, like, thank you for this time here. Thank you for the memory, go into that thanking, the similar to thanking the sender, right? And then that can move us into a different vibration. It might not be yet, excitement or however we might describe that. However, it's not in, it can bring us out of the deep well of sadness. And not that I'm saying that's bad to be there, because we have to feel that too. We can't just bypass. Not talking about bypass.
Yeah, that's an interesting balance, right? Because I think sometimes people, when they hear me or us or anyone say the importance is to lean in and feel the emotion, the fear is we're going to get stuck there. And The truth is, for me, and this is only true for me, that when I feel it, I move through it organically, right? If I really allow myself to, whatever grief looks like. I mean, I remember when, and I've shared this before, but I had these two amazing Chihuahuas. They lived with me for 15 years, the loves of my life. They both died within a few months of each other. And everyone kept saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for your loss. And that's not where I was at. I had felt it. Right. I remember just sobbing when the first one died and just sobbing when the second one died. And the second one, we actually had a ceremony. We had to, put him down, and we did this beautiful thing. And Will and I did this ceremony in our home with him, and I grieved. So the point that I'm in a roundabout way coming to is, by the time once I allowed myself to grieve, I had moved into gratitude for the 15 years. And so then people kept wanting me to go back to the sadness, and I wasn't there anymore. And so I didn't really know what to say to them. I just said, thank you. But then in my consciousness, I said, and I'm in the gratitude frequency. And it would have been okay if I felt sad again. But for me, it didn't really happen. I'd have these thoughts of them, and sometimes a little moment of sadness would come up. And rather than rejecting it, I would just say, oh, let me feel that. And then I would move into appreciation. I've had so many moments where sadness morphs into gratitude. And it's just this beautiful experience.
Yes, I've had the same. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think it's an important piece to let people know, because sometimes that might get lost in the message, like, don't feel sad or don't experience your experience. But no, that's not it at all.
Right.
And I think it's a really important part of our evolution.
Yeah.
So thank you. I know that is an important piece to me too, because sometimes when we share in groups or we share amongst one another, and someone is having this experience today, I often won't bring it up tomorrow or next week, because I like to allow the space for people to be somebody different the next day, be in a different space, and not have to go back to that story or that.
I am not experiencing what I did 20 minutes ago.
Exactly. Yes. So want to shift and change. Okay. That was Paris, then Christy. Dave says spiritual law just is like physical laws. Gravity is not acting for me or against me. It just is.
Great analogy. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. And I love that, because gravity is neutral, but what happens if I try to fight against it? Right. I'm not going to make it go away, at least not in this current reality on Earth. Although, that could be debated. Well, we have planes now, right? We have rockets. So it is an interesting little nuance.
Kathleen asks, can you talk more about willingness?
Amy, I think I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry. Kathleen is asking, can you talk more about willingness? Can you say more about willingness?
Yeah, let's see. What can I say about willingness? It's interesting, the word, right? Because it's will. The word will is in there, right? And so I think sometimes when we think of willingness traditionally, it's like, I need to bring my will into it. And so what's occurring for me in this moment goes back to, because I think in one level of consciousness, we talk about my will or God's will or spirit's will. And if it's true that, like I said, energy doesn't contain within it any judgment, just like gravity doesn't contain any judgment, it's just a law, right? If it's true that I am an essential being, there's no separation from what we'd call my will or God's will. That's an old paradigm. And I can tap into different parts or different seeming parts. In other words, I can be willing or bringing my will from ego. Again, we're not saying it's bad. We're going to say, what does it create when I'm coming from ego? I'm reminded of when I got the calling to go into ministry, and I'm not going to tell the whole story because that would be an hour. But there was a place when I realized it was time for me to move away from unity and into starting my own new thought center. And I struggled because my ego, once I got that vision, my ego or my will immediately was like, oh, and it needs to look like this, and this is where we need to be. And I was pushing. So for me, that's not willingness anymore. Now it's like, oh, let me tap into the divine will, that truth, which is always wanting to expand. And evolve and open, unfold. And when I'm tapped into that, then all of a sudden, what is willingness really isn't about pushing at all. It's about being in the flow and coming from spirit. So I suppose willingness would be always, to the best of my ability, moment to moment, reminding myself that divine will, or that essential will, is so much more powerful than any kind of force. I think of, David Hawkins' book, Power versus Force. I think that's what we're talking about. True will is a great thing. As we brought into the Pat brought that in earlier, our personality is useful when I have tapped into a deeper awareness, and then I'm using my personality to bring it. But again, once personality is in charge, right, I'm up against things.
I know a little bit about that.
I hope we all do.
A little bit about that. So beautiful. And when you were talking about this and willingness coming up, my hit was, your hit earlier was the Serenity Prayer.
Yes,
so
which I didn't bring in today.
Well, we could close with it.
Yeah, it's true.
Feel up to it. Okay, let me scroll back here. Looks like we talked about willingness. Christy says, thank you so much. Dawn says, what if the universe is neutral? Good takeaway. Yeah. Beautiful. Dave says, thank you for sharing your experience. We have 2 13-year-old chihuahuas we love dearly. Yeah. Our fur babies. Mirabai says, wow, that really helps me moving from sadness to gratitude and appreciation. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Mirabai. Luinda says, you've given me so much to think about, TJ. I so appreciate your message today.
Oh, thank you, Luinda.
Paris says, to me, willingness is more about readiness for alignment with the divine.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. Readiness.
Yeah.
And then the question is, because I like to ask myself the question, what would it take for me to be ready, right? And so that might be a mindfulness practice, spending time in the silence. It might be questioning my programs, right? So how am I ready to express divine will? How am I ready to reconnect? And we never really disconnected, but raise my awareness to recognize that I've always been whole and perfect, right? So what would it take for me to be ready? I love that, Paris. Thank you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What would it take for me to be ready?
Yeah. What does ready look like? What does ready feel like?
Yeah. Yeah. Feeling into that. As you talk about it, willingness sounds like stepping stone into surrender. Dave offers that.
Yeah. And surrender to me, I would say the ultimate surrender is to know that I'm an infinite being.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yay. We're just having so much fun here. I don't even know what time it is. 11:20.
11:20.
If you want more of TJ, he's tjwoodward.com, right?
Yes.
And now I think Unharmable too.
Unharmable.com. Yeah, we've started this movement, my friend Jeremy Miller and I, and it's #unharmable. So, spread the word that underneath all of our behavior and ideas, there's a place within us that's unharmed and unharmable.
Yes. Maybe we should have an Unharmable and have Jeremy.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Yep. I'm brainstorming here. We appreciate you so much, TJ. I know everybody loves and adores you like I do. And TJ is also on all the social media. So if you're on Facebook, Instagram, you can find him there also. Today, we are popping onto the connection for our community connection from 11:30 to, we say 12:30, but you can talk as long as you want on the community connection. If you feel nourished by our community, please consider visiting our Ways to Give page on our website, brentwoodilc.org. We are so deeply grateful for all the generous contributions that we receive, which enable us to continue sharing our message of inspiration and love, which we so enjoy doing. I'm going to check one more time, just make sure there's anything that's not here that we don't want to miss. Okay, great. I see everybody here. Thank you for being here with us. Everyone's still here. I love it. Love it.
Everyone.
I'm going to close with our prayer of transformation. I invite you to feel into this with me. Light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God directs us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is and always shall be, and we are divine. divine beings. I say, shine on, bright ones, because you are so bright. You are bright lights in the world, and I appreciate you bringing your light here, soaking it in, and shining it out. Thank you, thank you, thank you for participating in this co-creation. We love you. We bless you. Thank you, TJ.
Love
We
you
love
all.
you. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
being with us. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.